So we showed you how Canada and the UK are kind of coming together to implement digital IDs. UK made an announcement. Keir Starmer made the official announcement that it's going to be mandatory for UK citizens to have a digital ID in order to work. People are fiercely fighting back against it, but we know that it's coming. We know that the mark of the beast is coming. This digital implementation, digital currency, all this is coming about because of the globalist agenda. This has been something that's been in the works for many, many years, and people are coming to the conclusion. They're finally realizing that maybe the conspiracy theorists, maybe the, fear mongers, the people on X and social media platforms, maybe Alex Jones is onto something about this. That now that's out in front to the public, now people are coming together to realize how bad this is getting. And this is adding on to this. So, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, we know how coordinated he is with the American government. We know how very coordinated the state of Israel is with U.S. politicians. And here is Benjamin Netanyahu briefing American influencers on TikTok, calling it the most important weapon in securing support for Israel on the right wing. So this is Netanyahu going after TikTok and going after social media because social media is criticizing him. It's stating and showing people how awful the war crimes he's committing, the atrocity of the genocide going on in Gaza, how the long-stated history that Netanyahu purposely funded and supported Hamas for this exact reason. People on social media are bringing that to light, and he's petrified that more and more people are going to social media and understanding that. So he's trying to censor it. He went on to say weapons change over time. The most important ones are on social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is TikTok. I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. So, as Congress is trying to approve a deal that TikTok be owned by Mark Andreessen and Larry Ellison, who are big supporters of Israel, Netanyahu is trying to interfere to try to push this deal forward. A foreign leader is interfering with congressional work for two American billionaires to buy out a social media platform. And here's him announcing this right to the cameras. This is in plain sight, ladies and gentlemen. Listen to this.
Okay. You said, we talked about the woke right. And you said, I call it the woke Reich. That's a brilliant observation. The woke Reich, because these people, they're not any different from the woke left. I mean, they're insane. They're Louis. But they're actually meeting on some of the things. And what we have to do is we have to secure that part of the base of our support in the United States. That is being challenged systematically. A lot of this is done with money. Money of NGOs, vast. Money of governments, vaster. Okay? We have to fight back. How do we fight back? Our influencers. I think you should also talk to them if you have a chance. To that community, they're very important. And secondly, we're going to have to use the tools of battle. The weapons change over time. You can't fight today with swords. That doesn't work very well. Okay, and you can't fight with cavalry. That doesn't work very well. And you have these new things, like drones, things like that. I won't get into that. But we have to fight with the weapons that apply to the battlefields in which we're engaged. And the most important ones are the social media. And the most important purchase that is going on right now is...
Yes, blowing up babies and bombing hospitals is one thing, but the greatest weapon, the most important war that we're fighting is the war of words. The fact that people are expressing opinions on social media, God forbid, that is the biggest war we got to fight, ladies and gentlemen. That's why a foreign prime minister is denouncing the American government if it doesn't push ahead with the billionaire capture of TikTok. He's going after American politicians to say, you have to fast track this. You cannot allow for people to have freedom of speech. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? This is your greatest ally, ladies and gentlemen. Your greatest ally violating the constitutional rights. The ability for Americans to express the views and opinions of Americans on social media. And the fact that a foreign entity is pushing legislation, pushing another country's legislation so that it can acquire a social media app to go after kids. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. How do people not see this? How do people not see that your entire government has been captured by a creans like Netanyahu? Is it because he's strong and powerful? He's got the muscles to break down buildings? No. But he's captured you because he has dirt on you. He has blackmail. He has all this information on you. Mossad, MI6, the CIA. The reason why these organizations are so powerful is the information. And just like what we show with digital IDs, the more information you give to the government, the more powerful it becomes against you. That's what Netanyahu's doing. He's threatening the U.S. government because he has power over you. He has information and blackmail over you. This guy is like the Don Corleone of the supposed Jewish state of Israel, which we know is not accurately correct because Jewish people are being threatened in their supposed homeland. Jewish people that are not pro-Zionist, that they're not Jewish enough because they're not going full force on the Zionist death cults. Jewish people. See the rest of it.
Class?
Followers.
TikTok. TikTok. Number one. And I hope it goes through because it can be consequential. And the other one, what's the other one? That's most important. X. That's very good. And, so we have to talk to Elon. He's not an enemy. He's a friend. We should talk to him. Now, if we can get those two things, we get a lot. And I could go on other things, but that's not the point right now.
We just got to get along with them. Bring them over to our house. You have a little sit down, a little kabakazoo, Tell them what's what. It'd be a shame if your little platform gets disabled, I'm just saying. Elon Musk, you're a friend of mine, but you double-cross me. Things are going to happen. My God. Like, it literally is like watching a world's disturbing mafia film. And I'm used to watching mafia films. It's one of the joys in life is watching those kind of films. But this is it goes even further than that. It goes way further than that. This is unbelievable, folks, that a foreign prime minister is able just to openly state his assault on freedom of speech. And by the way, the reason that he calls Elon Musk a friend is because they captured Elon Musk. So when Elon Musk bought X and was opening the doors more to freedom of speech and allowing people to express, their opinions, their ideas, which is the whole point of social media, that was threatening to Israel. That was threatening to Israel because they didn't have control over the social media platform. So what they do, they had to bring Elon Musk along with, there you go, Ben Shapiro to Auschwitz to make him do a humiliation ritual and basically bait him into taking control over the reins of Twitter, over the reins of X, over the reins of... They do this with all the politicians, all the billionaires. They bring them to the Wailing Wall. They give them they bring them over there. It's not like a vacation. It's not like Benjamin Netanyahu works for Expedia and offering, showcases around Israel. It's, we're going to bring you to our territory. We're going to show you what's what. And if you cross the line, I would hate for something happen to you. I would hate for someone to call you an anti-Semite. I would hate for you to lose your ability to control your own platform. I would hate for that. So that's why we're going to bring you to Israel and show you what's what. And that's what happened. Elon Musk got captured And now he's a good friend because he's now doing the censor work for Israel. And if you've been on X recently, you could see that there's been a uproar of more pro-Zionist, pro-Israel bot accounts than there are actual people denouncing it. It's kind of interesting that all of a sudden this came about. So Chris Rossini reminds us that, remember, Americans were told that the problem with TikTok was about Chinese ownership? Ta-da! It was never about that at all. Yeah, remember it was about ByteDance. Remember it was about the Chinese government acquiring your data, acquiring this information, and using it against you. Well, guess what? It was kind of true. It was kind of true that there was a foreign country stealing your data and using it against you, but it wasn't China. And frankly, I'd be probably better off with China stealing my information, because probably the worst I get is pop-up ads for a Temu product that I probably don't need. Whereas opposed to Israel, Mossad, MI6, the CIA, already stealing that information to exploit you, to denounce you, to demonize you, to villainize you, unless you be their little puppet, their little servant. It was never about Chinese ownership. It was about taking control of the narrative. We exposed that. We've already exposed that. The ADL, Jonathan Greenblatt, in the leaked audio, he stated that the major concern was the younger population on TikTok were starting to question Israel. Why? Because they highlighted the genocide. So maybe if you don't want people criticizing a genocide, you shouldn't be live streaming it and posting on social media, dancing around in women's underwear and bragging about it. That's like criminality 101. If you're going to commit a crime, don't brag about it on social media. It kind of seems like common sense, but either way. So now, this is the guy that purchased TikTok. This is Larry Ellison, along with Mark Andreessen and I believe another person. But Larry Ellison, this is the big one. This is the world's richest man, surpassing Elon Musk. The man that's going to bring digital ID to America and implement AI technology to take over your workplace, to store all this information, to track and surveil and monitor you. Here he is. This is at an event called the Friends of the IDF. This is him of November 2017. Ellison donated $16.6 million, reported at the time to be the largest single gift in the organization's history. So this billionaire, who just bought TikTok, also bought CNN and CBS, he's at this event, Friends of the IDF, giving a donation to the military group that used the Hannibal Directive to target Israelis, and also is continuously bombing and destroying the people of Palestine, the people of Lebanon, the people of Syria, the people of Yemen, the people of Iran, and the people of Jordan. They're bombing, 8 or 9 countries simultaneously. And they have Larry Ellison backing the check because he's making huge amounts of money, destroying your lives, implementing a mass surveillance tool, and donating his profits to this untrusty, deranged militant group. And here's what he says about it at this event.
Tell us, what is your connection to Israel?
Well, the renewal of the Jewish state is something that I think touches all of us. For 2,000 years, we were a stateless people. And now we have a country of our own, defended by all the brave men and women of the IDF. So anything we can do to support them.
By the way, if you look throughout history, which a lot of Zionists don't want you to read, they don't want you to research. Kind of funny because we heard that with COVID. But if you look throughout history, there was a lot of opportunities for a Jewish state. There was a lot of opportunities. You know, you look at the time during the Spanish Inquisition that Jewish people from Spain and elsewhere around the world were invited into the Ottoman Empire And where was that empire? That would be Jordan. That would be Palestine. That would be Syria. All these nations that claim to hate Jewish people, that are making an atrocity and threatening to kill us. They were the ones that brought you in. So when he says that the Jewish people had a stateless, not having a state for over 2,000 years, that's kind of a lie. That's kind of a lie. Unless he's referring to Zionists. Because that's what it's really about. It's about the Zionist proposition from the Rothschilds, from the British monarchy, from the empires, from the imperialist empires that occupied the Palestinian region specifically to target Middle Eastern countries. Unless he's talking about that, which probably, but he's so diluted into this because of generations of propaganda and fear-mongering that he doesn't even know what he's stating here.
Who, devote their lives for preserving the state of Israel, keeping the people safe, and allowing our state to continue sometimes in very, very difficult situations.
Keeping our state safe, unless there's like a music festival that happens right next to a concentration camp, and the IDF soldiers personally target Israelis with the Hannibal Directive. Unless it's that. Unless it's Christians going to Israel and getting spat on. Unless it's a Jewish rabbi getting beaten on the streets because they're not Zionist enough. Unless it's that. It's a perfectly safe country. Unless, you talk to Charlie Kirk and Charlie Kirk says it's a fortress. It's a perfectly safe country. Wow. Well, it's a good thing you're at this gala in New York City and not in Tel Aviv. You care so much about Israel. It's kind of interesting, right? You're on the other side of the world, but you said how safe and wonderful it is as a billionaire like yourself. But, try being an actual Jewish rabbi that doesn't fall into line of the Zionist cult capture, or being a Christian and being spat on. Just saying.
I have been to Israel. I have been to the border. I have spent time to the people who govern the state of Israel, and I feel a deep emotional connection to the state of Israel and the Israeli people.
You are an high-tech person. What do you think about Israeli startups and high-tech phenomena?
Oh well, after Silicon Valley, there's an area. Herzliya is probably got more startups than any other place other than Silicon Valley in Northern California. So we've actually acquired a number of Israeli companies. We have two CEOs at Oracle. One's name is Safra Katz, and she was born in Israel. So again, we love the country of Israel, and we'll do everything we can to support the country of Israel.
I love a country that gets involved in AI technology. I love all these startups that I can, eventually buy out and have massive control of the world. I love that. That's why I have such a deep connection. I love the ability to exploit people. I'm doing it here in America. I can do it over there. They're wonderful. We share a common path, right? It's amazing. He has more connection to Israel as an American billionaire than the Israelis that are protesting Netanyahu by the thousands. Go figure. Go figure. So that's Larry Ellison for you. An event called Friends of the IDF that donated a huge sum of money to the millions of dollars given to this militant group to put pressure onto social media platforms. He just bought TikTok. He bought CBS. He's bringing it to Barry Weiss to then control CBS News, which we know kind of what the direction's going to be for that. And he's also threatening to buy Warner Brothers, CNN, elsewhere. Again, not because he cares so much about movies and television, but it's to control the narrative. Control the narrative. That's always been the case. It's always been the case. And here's one of the worst ones when it comes to censorship, when it comes to deviant attacks against freedom of speech. You remember Jonathan Greenblatt, who's the CEO of the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, which ironically is only anti-defamation in title only. You'll see why in a second. But here's Jonathan Greenblatt at this event saying in 2024 alone, we provided some 2,700 tips to law enforcement. So they're snitching. So basically what they're doing is they're being the middleman to scrape social media, any posts, anything that's made controversial or they deem as anti-Semitic. They then tell law enforcement. They tattle on you. That's what the ADL is. They're not there to stop defamation. They're there to spread more of it. Because this league, the whole purpose of it is to gain control, exactly what they're doing here. They want to snitch and tattle on people. They want control over your aspect. They want control of the culture. That's why the ADL is formed. Do you think that stopping defamation is in their business favor? No. Because if we stopped defamation, there would be no need for Jonathan Greenblatt. You then have to get like a regular job somewhere. But here he is announcing that the ADL is working with law enforcement to tattle on you. And this is the same guy that in leaked audio told and announced people we have to go after TikTok. We have to go after social media because the younger generation is it's dangerous that younger people are witnessing the truth and reality in real time on these social media platforms. But here's what he says on this.
Today, our team includes software engineers and data scientists who work as full-time staff, along with Nobel laureates and MacArthur Genius Award winners who serve in our extended network. Together, they monitor the danger, track the extremists, analyze the environment, and ultimately, we focus on disrupting threats before they explode. They do this work through a mix of HUMINT and SIGINT, 24/7.
Again, he's talking about posts. He's talking about words. As we're paying for another country to slaughter another country. As we're doing it all around the world. We're actually committing violent acts of atrocity, violating international law. But here he's screaming about words and pictures and videos shared on social media. And as I stated before, if you didn't want people to criticize a genocide, maybe not promote it on social media would be a start. Maybe not having IDF soldiers with their own personal accounts dressed in drag and celebrating the killings is not a great idea. But he's not angry at that. He's angry at you for pointing it out.
Of us in this room, we read the headlines about raging hate. At ADL, our team swings into action before the headline is written. In 2024 alone, we provided some 2,700 tips to law enforcement. I'm talking about actionable intelligence that leads to investigations, search warrants, arrests, and prosecutions. We've been doing this kind of work for...
It's amazing that the ADL, the Anti-Defamation League, is doing the same kind of motion steps as, modern day Gestapo. We're getting tips onto people so they can break into the houses for unwanted posts, for stuff we find critical, for stuff we deem anti-Semitic. Which if you look at the term of anti-Semitism, which I bet a lot of people don't, killing Palestinians, killing Arabs is anti-Semitic. So it's amazing we're stopping anti-Semitism so that they can pursue a genocidal action on Semites and being anti-Semitic. The irony of all this. It's so deranged. It's so psychotic that the guy who's trying to stop hate speech in order to promote and assist literal violence on children. It's unbelievable. But again, it's not about stopping hate speech. It's not about, making it safer for people. They couldn't care less about that. It's about controlling the narrative. They don't want critics. They don't want criticism. They don't want people to know about things. They want people in the dark and being diluted to the false propaganda being spewed down their throats and promote this insane agenda that's going to manufacture more and more slaughtering around the world. They could not care less about you. Jonathan Greenblatt could not care less about you. Like I said, if defamation stopped, if we didn't have anti-Semitism, he'd be out of a job. There would be no need for the ADL. So, of course, they got to stir up more controversy. They got to promote more anti-Semitism. They got to continue on having more and more anti-Semitic tropes on the internet. Because otherwise, this would be useless. That whole organization would be useless. So, even with this, this is pointed out by Representative Anna Paulina Luna, who says, this is wrong, ADL. You're intentionally creating a targeted hate campaign against Christians. So, an organization that claims to be stopping defamation, Anti-Defamation League, here they are in their own website saying, under Christian identity, published extremism, hate, or terrorism under Christianity. So they're manufacturing hatred against Christians. Anyone that's deemed under Christian faith is deemed extremism, hate, or terrorism, according to the ADL. Maybe because a lot of Christians, unless you're a Christian Zionist, kind of look at the genocide and say, that's wrong. That's not what Jesus Christ or the Bible would state, depending on what passage you read. Again, the Bible, it's very controversial depending on what book you read. If it's the King James Bible, whatever. There's so many different interpretations. You don't know exactly what is the proper notion, but a lot of Christians don't believe that this genocide is worth it. In fact, they're scarred. They're scarred in the fact that Zionism has incorporated and diluted their own faith because of this. The same way Jewish people, they feel that their faith, their religion, is being scarred and being plagued by Zionism, because Zionism is the cancer to Judaism. It's the cancer to Christianity. The same way the Ku Klux Klan was a cancer to Christianity. They don't assimilate, but they captured Christianity to make believe that if, in order to be a proper Christian, you had to be part of this. In order to be a proper Jewish man or woman, you had to be a Zionist. That was all part of this purpose. But here, the ADL is creating defamation by doing this. Here's Gen X Girl. The ADL is an agent of a foreign government, Israel, working to constantly create division in the U.S. in order to ostracize critics of Israel. As more Americans realize our government's support of genocidal Israel is to the detriment of America, ADL claims America First is racist. So they're attacking a lot of MAGA by doing this. Look at this. America First is a term that references the World War II era American First Committee, which is used by extremists in anti-Semitic, racist, and xenophobic ways. Emphasizes American nationalism, non-intervention, and anti-immigrant and anti-globalist beliefs. So it's no longer, again, EDL is such a tyrant when it comes to censorship, because it's not even directly about anti-Semitism. Now they're trying to incorporate anyone that criticizes globalism, anyone that criticizes non-interventionism. So if you're anti-war, you're anti-Semitic, according to the ADL. If you want to stop the wars and have real peace in this world, you're considered an anti-Semite. If you have criticism of immigration, you're considered an anti-Semite. You're considered a threat by the ADL. They even made a ruling that you can't criticize George Soros, one of the most profound, insidious, horrific billionaires to walk the earth, that is enticing his grimy little hands onto everyday society. You can't even criticize him because, oh, George Soros happens to be Jewish, and that means it's anti-Semitic. Nobody's attacking him for his faith. People are attacking him for his policies, for his agendas, for his politics. The fact that this man pretty much occupies every aspect of the Western world, has captured a lot of our legislative assemblies. That's what's problematic. But again, you criticize that, the ADL is going to go after you. How unbelievable this is. And it's because of this. Because Jonathan Greenblatt, the reason the ADL exists and the reason that he's purposely the CEO of this nefarious organization is because the World Economic Forum put him there. The World Economic Forum that definitely wants censorship, that definitely wants control, that wants to deem you a terrorist, that wants to deem you an anti-Semite, that wants to contradict, civil rights and liberties, that wants to attack the First Amendment. Here it is. The Anti-Defamation League is one of the most trusted voices in combating harmful digital content, has led ADL's transformation into the digital age, helping them become a leader in identifying and countering the glowing threats of cyber hate. Again, words. They're spending all this time going after words than they are going after legit threats of violence. I think mass slaughtering people is far more extreme and dangerous than words on the internet. I don't feel threatened when someone makes a social media post about me. But I do if they're going to make a threat about me and try to kill me. That's kind of more important to deal with. But they're not going to go after that. They're not going to go after that. Because if they actually stop defamation, there'd be no point for this guy. There'd be no point for this organization. Hence why they got to keep this going. Hence why they want to incorporate everything, including America First, including MAGA. Anyone that expresses nationalism, non-interventionism, anti-immigration, or anti-globalist beliefs being slewed in to this anti-defamation crackdown, into this Gestapo raid. Here's him again. This is from 2023, saying, if you criticize Israel, you are a terrorist. The ADL spreading hatred. They're telling you you're a terrorist if you don't agree with us. You. So what, is there another ADL organization that can go after this one? Should Jonathan Greenblatt then be prosecuted by the ADL? Should we send him to the feds? You're threatening people by deeming them as a terrorist for not sticking with your beliefs, with the globalist agenda. Anti-Defamation League CEO Jonathan Greenblatt declared on Monday that anyone who dares criticize Israel is a terrorist and a Hamas sympathizer. But luckily for someone like me, I didn't pay Hamas suitcases of cash and told them to keep going in order to purposely undermine Palestinians' liberation movements and purposely cause a genocide to break out. If you want to talk about sympathizers, you want to talk about terrorist sympathizers, look no further than the people that actually create it. Look at Hillary Clinton back in 2010, openly admitting that America invented Al-Qaeda and invented ISIS. If you want to look anywhere to who the terrorist sympathizers are, look no further than the people that purposely create it. Because in order to have a war on terror, you have to first create it. Or how about this? This is Jonathan Greenblatt, CEO of ADL, talking about the censorship that they are involved in, not only with YouTube and Google, but with Facebook. He also describes what vocabulary is not permissible to use to describe powerful political and financial interests. So let's listen.
We work with YouTube to get them to change their algorithms. We work with Facebook on trying to use a redirect method.
When you talk about globalists, another phrase used by right-wing extremists.
We work with Google on using AI to try to interrupt cyber hate before it happens. We work with YouTube to get them to change their algorithms. We work with Facebook on trying to use a redirect method.
When you talk about...
So there you go. They're telling you they work directly with Facebook. They work directly with Google. They're breathing down the necks of people to change their algorithms. They're breathing down their necks to say, you have to comply with our agenda. That anyone that criticizes globalism, anyone that's deemed a right-wing extremist, which we know that's a very, very vague term. I mean, we're talking about the same people that thought exercise is a right-wing trope. Exercise. Anything that criticizes vaccines is right-wing. Anyone that doesn't comply with Drag Queen Story Hour is right-wing. Anyone that has criticisms about oil companies is right-wing. Anything that goes against the government is right-wing. That's what's so horrifying about this. That this is not about anti-Semitism. That they're using this as an umbrella term to encapsulate total control over all the narratives, total control over people expressing thoughts and opinions, which is valid under the First Amendment. That you're allowed to have freedom of speech. And if we don't have freedom of speech, then what is the point of humanity? What is the point of us existing? That's always been my case. If we don't have the ability to share and converse and share ideas and thoughts as actual individuals with functioning brains, if we can't even do that, then what is the point of humanity? What's the point of us existing? Because if we don't have the ability to do that, we won't have the ability to survive. We wouldn't have the existence that we have right now. We wouldn't have the technology that we have right now without the ability to share thoughts and opinions. It is unbelievable, folks. And someone pointed this out. Now, I cannot confirm nor deny this, but I want to bring this to attention because I thought this was pretty interesting. So, this guy, Based Sam Parker, states Charlie Kirk opposed censorship to protect Israel and criticized Jonathan Greenblatt's efforts to impose hate speech control over tech platforms like TikTok. So, we kind of understand that there's been a back and forth with Charlie Kirk and the state of Israel. Now, again, we are not conflating to say that Israel did, in fact, attack Charlie Kirk. We're not stating that. But this could be the motivation that could cause an individual to go after someone like Charlie Kirk. Because Charlie Kirk, who's a very influential person, very outspoken for the younger generation, got people together through Turning Point USA, who eventually had a falling out with its donors. Bill Ackman tried to bring him to the Hamptons to try to scare Charlie Kirk into compliancy, and Charlie Kirk was starting to question a lot of things, bringing on Tucker Carlson, bringing on Dave Smith, having conversations with Candace Owens. This could be part of it. This could be part of it. Again, not confirming nor denying what is stated here. So they linked a bunch of past tweets about this. So Charlie Kirk saying, here's ADL CEO Jonathan Greenblatt bragging to MSNBC how the group extorts every single tech company in Silicon Valley to censor Americans and ban hate speech. So he's pointing out that the ADL is pressuring and blackmailing tech companies to fall into line. This is a government organization, an NGO. Here's Charlie Kirk again. Hate speech does not exist legally in America. There's ugly speech, there's gross speech, there's evil speech, and all of it is protected by the First Amendment. That has always been the case with Charlie Kirk. And that's one of the things I can respect most heartily about him. There's a lot of things I disagree with. There's a lot of things that I criticize, but that's the one thing I can get behind is as an American, he is very pro free speech. Here's him again. There are some, like Mitt Romney and some others, I'm sure, but he doesn't respect any of my viewpoint. It's clear Democrats suddenly started pushing to ban TikTok post October 7th. Why? Because they didn't know how to deal with the anti-Israel sentiment in their own ranks. So that's Charlie Kirk, a very pro-Israel supporter, starting to question, because he's an American and very much on free speech, he's wondering why they're putting pressure on TikTok. Why are so many senators going after TikTok post October 7th? And he's trying to he's trying to question it. And then down below it says ADL CEO Jonathan Greenblatt told the Israeli Kitz earlier this year how important it was that they capture TikTok. It has now been captured. Because of Larry Ellison, because of Mark Andreessen, because the whole entire Congress, the whole entire White House has been captured purposely to suppress Americans, suppress their freedom of speech, their First Amendment rights, which is the most important amendment out of all of them. That's why it's the First Amendment. Suppressing all that for a foreign country's agenda, for a foreign country that is only existing because of blackmail and deception. If you look at Whitney Webb's book, if you look at the creation of modern-day Israel, the only reason really exists, not because of how safe it is for the Jewish community, but it's more for the fact that it's a safety lever for the intelligence communities, for AI startups, for deceit and blackmail. That's why. That's why. And having someone like Charlie Kirk, who's very influential, and his audience was losing respect to Israel because of all the open networks available to see and witness the carnage of the genocide, it was worrisome. People were worried. So I can't confirm nor deny, but that's another piece of the puzzle into the possible motive that would cause someone to go after Charlie Kirk, because Charlie Kirk, again, was starting to question things about Israel, and that doesn't sit well with the billionaire class. That doesn't sit well with a lot of the people, the highly influential people that pay into Turning Point USA and made him into the star he was. That could potentially be the case.